morning we're going to finish up the book. So the book that we've gone through with the Leadership Challenge, Model the Way, Inspire to Shared Vision, Challenge the Process. We were not able to do Enable Others to Act because somebody decided to get flu B. Worst that he's ever had it before, and so that was fun. But the idea of enabling others to act is really just delegating. And the idea of delegation is you're trusting other people, you're giving them the authority and the responsibility, but not the accountability. So the idea when you delegate to people that you work with, when you delegate to your kids, when you delegate to other people, you never delegate away the accountability that you have for that task. You are still accountable for that task, but you're giving them authority, and you're giving them skills, and you're giving them the ability to do the job. So that's really enabling others to act. So when you look at those four, model the way, inspire shared vision, challenge the process, enable others to act, it can't stop there. But I would say in most business worlds or most professional worlds or church worlds, it stops there because encouragement is an afterthought. And what I want to do this morning is really challenge us to think of encouragement as the glue that holds all four of those together. You really can't model the way, and people are, here's another thing, you won't model the way and people won't care if they don't know that you care. You know, there's that old saying, is like people don't care what you know until they know that you care. That's the key thing right now, is understanding that encouraging the heart is really the glue that holds everything together. So what kind of a big idea do we want to hit on today? I lost my clicker, so my finger's the clicker today. I think the big idea is this: you got to know well and care well. So think about that. Just stop for a second and think about that. When you know a friend well, you care for them well. And when you want to care for somebody well, you want to know them well. So the whole idea of encouraging the heart is knowing people well and caring for them well. That is the glue that holds any leadership position together. That is the glue that holds relationships together. Think about your best friend. Think about your parents. Think about people that you really care about. You know them well. And they know you well. They know, like Danielle in the car the other day was talking about, like, man, are you upset about something? I go, no, why? And I'm lying, of course. She's like, because you deeply sigh. Like, she knows my sighs and my noises so well that she can understand what I'm thinking. So you got to know people well, and then you got to care for them well. If they're a friend, if they're your best friend, you're not gonna leave them high and dry. And think about that from Scripture's point of view. Where does in Scripture where it says that God knows the hairs on our head? Some of us have more than that. But God also cares for the flowers and the grass. And he goes, and I know in Scripture, I'm going to mess this up, but the whole idea is like, your Heavenly Father that cares so much for them cares even more for you. So this is a biblical principle of knowing well and caring well. All right? So let me give you some quotes that I found with this concept in mind. Here's a couple quotes. Zig Ziglar, he's a famous business guru, wrote a lot of books, said this: make finding the good in others a priority. You probably heard me say that before. I just gave this quote a few minutes ago. People don't care what you know until they know that you care. Michael Hyatt, who is from Nashville, Tennessee, wrote several business books, Christian business author, said if you take care of your team, they'll take care of you. And then, of course, you got to go, I always like to look not at Christian authors, but at other people, because there's common grace in the world. So the Dalai Lama said this: to be aware of and present with each other at work is to create an environment where everyone can thrive. So he said this: to be aware and present with each other at work is to create an environment where others can thrive. When you know well and you care well, people around you are going to do well. They're going to feel empowered, or enabled to do well. They're going to feel encouraged to challenge the process and go, I don't understand, or that doesn't make sense. Why don't we try it this way? When they feel like they're known and they're cared for, they're going to come back and look at that, inspire a shared vision, and they're going to be like, okay, that makes sense, because he or she lives that out. And then same thing with model the way. You can model as much as you want, but if you model on the outside and it's not on the inside, people are going to see through that. And that's where encouraging the heart really gets to it. So let's define encouragement a little bit. So I was trying to find a good definition of encouragement, because I think when we think of encouragement, we think of attaboys, like, good job. Thank you for doing that. You're awesome, because Jeremiah, you are. JJ, you are. But here's the definition I kind of want to hit on this morning. The action of giving someone support, confidence, or hope. So think about that. When I encourage somebody, I'm taking action. It is an action thing. It is not something that is passive. It is an action of giving someone support. So if I'm encouraging somebody, like when I was encouraging my kids in youth sports, it's okay that you kick the ball into the other goal that's not yours. Your encouragement, you're like, hey, keep going, keep trying, keep going, keep trying. Teaching a kid to drive. It's okay that we almost hit that car. Keep trying, keep trying. That whole idea of you're encouraging support. But then when you support them, excuse me, you're helping build their confidence. Confidence is important. I think a lot of times people fail to act or they fail to respond because they don't feel confident. What if we created an environment in our families, in our churches, in our workplaces, where we supported and encouraged people, where people felt confident enough to confront? Or they felt confident to say, oh my goodness, that didn't work out. I think of the nursing or the medical profession. I want those nurses and doctors to feel confident to go, that medicine's not right, we need to change that. I want teachers to have that. But just think of the church. Imagine that the church was a place where people felt encouraged and confident to step out and try things and minister and volunteer. I think 20% of the work is done by, 20% of the people do 80% of the work, because the only people that really feel confident are 20% of the people. Shame on us. I think of as a dad, this is something God's been challenging me on, is how am I building confidence in my kids to make decisions, to make failures, and to understand that failures are not fatal, they're not final. Yeah, you might have just taken the bumper off the back of your car, but you're still alive. Now get back in the car and let's drive that. The whole idea is like trying to build that confidence. So support, confidence, and then the last one, which I really love, is hope. You're encouraging people because we live in a world where people do not feel hopeful. And that is a shame. Because you can have all the support in the world, all the confidence in the world, but if you don't have any hope, what's the purpose? What's the why? So that's what encouragement is. And here's what encouragement requires before we jump into three things. Honesty. Do not lie to somebody trying to make them feel good, because it's not going to help them. Do you know the definition of waste? Anything that doesn't produce value. That's the definition, business definition of waste. Anything that doesn't create value for the guest or the customer. So yeah, I might say all these words, but if I don't mean them, they're actually just hurting you. So courage, honesty, compassion. I think sometimes we don't encourage because we feel like, well, I haven't been encouraged. Have the heart of Jesus, compassion. Consistency. Don't be an encourager on Monday and a discourager on Tuesday. Have some consistency. And the last one, which I've been wrestling with, because I know when I say this, it's going to seem like I'm asking for you to encourage me. But one of the things that encouragement requires, it's multidirectional. And I've really thought about that, as like even thinking back to my dad who passed away in 2019. The whole idea of that is how much encouragement, support, confidence, and hope did I give my dad in my words? Because I think a lot of times we think that encouragement comes from on high. It doesn't. It comes side to side. A lot of times, guys, the biggest encouragement in the church is a church member encouraging their pastor. The biggest encouragement and the change in an organization happens not because the CEO or because the manager sees it, because the frontline worker sees it. There are books and books of examples that encouragement, when it is done multi-directional, actually benefits the organization better. So I think a lot of times we think, well, I'm not over that person. They're a colleague. I can't encourage him. That's their boss's role. That's your role. Share encouragement side to side, up the chain and down the chain. All right? So there are three things that I think that when I looked at these two chapters that really summarize encouraging the heart. Number one, you inspect what you expect. All right? So if I'm going to encourage you, if I'm going to know you, I've got to inspect the things that I talk about. So if I inspect a certain things from CAB, I cannot never go to a CAB meeting. I've got to show up at them. I've got to show up at an event. So the idea is encouragement is not always fun, but it is always beneficial. That means there are times encouragement today might be you challenging a friend to have a good attitude and stop being pessimistic or stop being judgmental or stop gossiping. That is encouragement, because what is it doing? It's encouraging action. And I think some of that is we think, well, encouragement's only got to be like, man, that was a real good thing that you did today. No, it might be, hey, I know you're better than this. I need you not to do this. So that's one, inspect what you expect. Encouragement requires clear expectations. In your friendships, in your relationships, in church, in families, have clear expectations. When you don't understand what people expect from you, you're never going to meet those expectations. Also, make sure you communicate what you expect from them. I think you inspect what you expect, but we forget to communicate what our expectations are. We've hired people before and their expectations is, man, I'm going to get hired on summer team and then I'm going to be a part of campus experience the next year. That's not always the case. Sometimes it's the case, right, Alex? But sometimes it's not the case. So I have to be really clear at the beginning of the summer. I'm even doing this right now. And there are people that are on summer team right now for this year that are being interviewed by Weston or Sydney or Chrissy. And they might not get the position for next year, but I have to be very clear as, okay, the expectation here is not that you will get a job. The expectation here is that the gospel is going to be heard 100,000 times. We get to serve these 15,000 guests. Here's what you get to do. You get to do that this summer. That's the expectations. All right. So the next one, after you inspect what you expect, find the good in others. Look for improvement, not perfection. All right? I've seen too many friendships fall apart because a friend will make a mistake. Okay, everybody look at me. Your friends will make mistakes. You, as a friend, are going to make a mistake, maybe even today. All right? You're looking for improvement, not perfection. I think too many times we don't encourage because it's like, well, they still messed up. Well, they tried. Did they get 1% better? Look for quality, not perfection. So now when you're in a relationship, you're in a church. Okay, I'm also say this. You will never go to the perfect church. Never. You will walk in that church, and as soon as you walk in that church is a failure. Because guess what? You have failed. We're going to fail. You're looking for quality. You're looking for characteristics. You're not looking for perfection. I do believe that in our world, in social media, in movies, we have been pre-wired to think that everything's got to be perfect. It doesn't. You're looking for quality. You're looking for characteristics. So number one in this one, look for improvement, not perfection. Look for quality, not perfection. Now the last one, reward, recognize, and celebrate. Okay, the first two, inspect what you expect, not as fun. Find the good in others, a little bit more fun. You get to reward, recognize, and celebrate. This is what people think when I say the word encouragement. I think this is an important part. Don't miss the fun for the action. So what I mean by that is Make encouragement personal, not clinical. Nursing majors, you get where I'm going with this. There's a lot of times I tell myself, be clinical in this reaction. Don't take it personal. Don't get emotional. Stay clinical. But the idea in encouragement, make it personal. Because you're doing what? You're knowing well and you're caring well. And then the last one, understand that words matter. Lee Cockrell, who was an executive vice president at Disney during 9/11, said this. He said, never be afraid to burn the free fuel. You know what free fuel is? The words that come out of your mouth. Never be afraid to give somebody, how you doing today? What's going on? How can I pray for you? What's the one thing that happens at Cedar all the time? I pass you on the sidewalk and I go, hey, what's up? How you doing? And they're like, fine. So we either say, how you doing? We really don't care how you're doing. We just don't know what to say to the other person across the room from us. But what if we started, now you can't stop everybody on the sidewalk and go, Livy, let me talk to you. Let me share everything that's going on in my life today. And Livy's like, I got to go to Bible class. I'm late. Dr. Marsh, Harsh Marsh is going to get mad at me. Don't tell Billy I said that. But the idea is you can't do that. But what if we were more careful with our words? Have you ever told somebody you'll pray for them and then you walked away and you really didn't? I've done that. Have you ever told somebody that, man, I really care about you, and then you walk away and all you're doing, and you might gossip about them later? Words matter. Be careful with your words, but don't be afraid to burn the free fuel. Don't be afraid to encourage. And remember, with encouragement, it's also challenge. It's support. Don't be afraid to do that, because if we're really going to know and care well, we've got to inspect what we expect. We've got to understand that it's finding the good in others, and we got to reward, recognize, and celebrate. We got to understand it's multidirectional, and we also have to have honesty, compassion, and the last one is consistency.